One-foot-flipper.
Hi, Paige here, the 1 Foot Flipper. Let's just get right into it, shall we? Last night, I saw on Facebook that Rockstar Flipper was trying to sell his entire eBay store. Now, one thing I love buying out an entire store, whether it's listed or unlisted, because you're getting pre-picked merchandise here, so it's going to be better, hopefully, than what you're going to find in the wild. So I immediately started researching his store to see what sort of inventory would I be getting if I purchased this. Now, if you're not familiar with Rockstar Flipper, he used to be an eBay-based reselling channel, still has a ton of videos out there, and he seemed to be based around the concept of high-volume sales, and he had a particular fascination with Gaylords full of remote controls. However, over time, he seemed to stop focusing on his actual business and started focusing on trying to make money other ways from his followers. I believe he had had a paid group, and I know he has a listing service now, but he's also completely dropped posting reselling related videos. He's transferred into a general talking head YouTube channel focused on debts, scams, restaurant, and shock content. And you know what? It seems just fine. Seems okay. I wish him all the luck in the world in that. And this video isn't really about him. It's about his eBay store and if it's worth the price that he's asking for it. Now, you can't actually transfer ownership of an eBay store from one person to another. At least not in normal circumstances. There's limited circumstances, like if the store belongs to a company or an LLC, then you can transfer ownership of the company or the LLC, which will still have ownership of the eBay account, but that will effectively have transferred the ownership of the eBay account. But what you can do is you can transfer the listings from one account to another really easily. You just use Crosslist.com software. So all Rockstar's customer would need to do is to open a Crosslist account, have Rockstar import all his items into it, then they'd log into their Crosslist account and crosslist those items to their own store. And Rockstar would delete them out of his store. If you want to try Crosslist for yourself, then there's a promotion code and a link down in the description. And if you use that code, I get a little bit of money. Otherwise, they don't pay me to talk about them. Only if you use the link. Now, Rockstar's posting was asking $30,000 for his entire store. We're going to go over the inventory. And I'm going to take a good look at all of it. Now, when researching into this and into his store, I constantly had to take into account that he is a free shipping seller and that a lot of his items had almost no margins left after the shipping and eBay fees. First listed 800,000 sports cards. Now, this sounds pretty impressive, right? But this is 800,000 bulk sports cards. The reason I can tell this is he's only got 10 cards listed on his eBay account for more than the $3 plus ship bulk cutoff. And the most expensive one is listed for $10. However, when I clicked on that card and a few of the other ones that he actually listed above the bulk cutoff, the cards were worthless. Other sellers had them for $1.99 free ship and stuff like that. In fact, he's got cards listed for as low as $1.25 shipped, and that's a price point at which you directly lose money on every single one you sell. I would have no reason to assume that there's any quality hidden in the other 800,000 cards because there's none in his store right now. And even if there was, it's hidden. Thus, the value's not there. You have to find it. Mixed lots of bulk sports cards on the wholesale level, not going to bring more than $3 per thousand. Heck, we would sell them unsearched at $5 per thousand when I worked in the card shop. So that's giving us $2,400 worth of value in sports cards, and don't think that it should be any more, because I guarantee if I called up enough sports card shops in the area and asked, do you have any overage on bulk? I'm buying at $3 per thousand, and I could probably get a whole lot, because the sports card shops, they don't even want that bulk. They end up getting it with large collections they buy, and it's the other items in the collection they want. They don't actually want all that bulk, but they get it with the big collection. Now next, 30,000 Pokemon cards. Now, Rockstar claims in his listing that these are somehow worth $50,000. Once again, however, there are no Pokemon cards of value in his store, which gives me no reason to believe that there's any value in any of the rest of it. It even says in the listing that they're modern cards 2014 and up. And modern cards shift all the value to the rarity slots that do not even appear once per box. And another thing that tells me that there's no value there is he has a massive quantity 1,000 card lot that he sells that's listed as 900 commons and 100 hollow/reverse hollows. And since the value in modern Pokemon starts at rarity ratings above hollow rare, that means that there's just probably no value there. His cards have already been picked through. You don't get 30,000 Pokemon cards that haven't been picked through. That doesn't happen. Now, assuming the distribution and current buy list prices for these cards, we're going to say these cards are worth $6.60 per 1,000, making for a total of $198, and I'll round up to $200 just for fun. That is a far cry from $50,000. Sure, you can make $50,000 worth of listings out of those cards, especially if you're giving free shipping. If your time is worth 0, and you may indeed sell them all within the next 80 or 90 years, but that only works if your time is worth nothing. We're now at $2,600, and once again, I'd have no reason to pay more than this $200 for these 30,000 cards, because if I call enough of my local stores at the right time, if they've got overage, if they've got overage on the stuff that they've bought in big groups, I could get these cards for the same price, for the price that I just said. No reason for me to pay more. 1,000 vintage marbles. He actually has these listed in his store for $130 free ship. They haven't sold yet, so they're probably not worth that. So let's be generous and count this at $50. Remember, in all of this, we're not trying to buy this store at eBay price. We're trying to buy it to make a profit, so I'm not paying over, for any of this other stuff, we're not paying over half what we expect to get for it on eBay. Next up, 50 pair of Nikes. Looking at his sold shoes, cut out the shipping cost, and giving him a general 50 cents on the listed dollar for the rest of the sale price, and not even worrying about the eBay fees, and shows that his average pair of shoes is going to count for $33. He has 50 pair, so that is $1,650. And once again, he is listing the full eBay free ship price when calculating value. We're now at $4,300 in value here. Next, he's got 500 pieces of clothing. And when I went through this, I used a very frugal $5 shipping cost because this was all listed free ship. And once you count for eBay fees, his sold used clothing brought in an average of $4.87 per item. If we give him half of that, then that gives us another $1,200. Now note, you're only going to be making $2.43 profit on each of these items. And that's before shipping, supplies, returns, or any other issues. So this is not exactly a gold mine here. Next, 100 remoted sorted remote controls. Always a favorite of his. He'd buy them by the Gaylord, which is the half height skid or pallet. He's got some higher value ones listed. I'll credit $100 for those. I'm going to assume the other 70 at 50 cents each. And that's very generous. In reality, they're probably unsellable, both because he didn't list them, and they're going to be what's left over from many bulk buys of thousands of remotes. That gets us another $130. We're now at $5,630. Next, 400 assorted electronics/tablets, older models, good and bad. It's very hard to price something like this with zero information, but if I was going in blind at it, the most I would pay is $1,000, and that would be super generous. 500 miscellaneous other items. Once again, let's be generous and say $2 each. I could go to the Goodwill outlet and buy 500 miscellaneous items for $2 each, and they might be higher quality than this, who knows. That puts us at $76.30. 600 Hot Wheels. Now, looking, his average Hot Wheels sales were clearing less than $2 after shipping and fees, some of them clearing less than $1. Even counting these at $1 each is generous, but we're going to do so, and that gets us to $8,630. Now, what kind of income could we expect with this merchandise? In his sales post, Rockstar Flipper claims he's got receipts for $15 to $25K per month. However, I'm going to say one thing, these are gross receipts, not net receipts, and he does say gross receipts. And I'm going to say that these have got to be old numbers, because the last 3 months his store is not pulling in anywhere near that. I took the time to add up all of his sales for the last 3 months, counting a very low $5 shipping fee per non-card item, taking off the eBay fees, 3 months worth of store fees, and I was even generous enough to magically count a $1 profit on each one of those bulk card sales, even though he was selling many at dead losses or with margins of pennies. And once you count the real human labor in pulling those cards, it would have been better off to throw them in the trash. The last 3 months, once I took all his sales and expenses and everything into account, but not including cost of goods, his eBay store was only putting out about $600 a month. That is far from the numbers that you would want, particularly since once you count your cost of goods in buying from him at basically half price, you'd only be making $300 a month off the stuff. So $8,630 is the absolute limit I could suggest anyone spend on this lot. And then what that gets you is a lot of extremely low margin merchandise. The shoes are nice. The rest, not so much. To make $20 an hour for the day, you might literally have to ship 90 orders out of this stuff. However, if you have a minimum wage employee doing all the work and they only cost you $10 an hour, and you took advantage of Crosslist.com to move the listings over, then I could see it being viable. But otherwise, no. I don't see this as being a viable purchase. I see this as Rockstar Flipper's leftovers. Hey, thanks for watching, everyone. Best wishes to Rockstar Flipper and whatever route he is taking after reselling, and I hope to see all of you again soon.
Forgive me, I don't know his actual name, but his YouTube name is onefootflipper.